last thing he said. He just said my contract. So. Things are going that smooth, you can't even tell how long it's been.
I thought we did a 2-year contract. I didn't think it was updated.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the East Dubuque City Council meeting. It is Monday, March 17th. I ask that you please turn your cell phones off during the meeting and please be quiet during discussions. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. (25-0317) call to order.
Belkin.
Here.
Bergmeyer.
Here.
Dagenhart.
Here.
Mayor Digman.
Here.
Fleur. Meyer.
Here.
Roby. Here. Attorney Hess.
25-0318 staff reports. City manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. I wrote my report this week and I forgot to bring it. Main report is we're working on the budget and the process we're using this year. Working with the management team, we'll be meeting with them tomorrow. I've projected where we should be at the end of this fiscal year, and now I'm getting input from the managers on where I was wrong, and then we'll begin working on the budget for the coming year. I'm happy to report that thanks to really a great effort by our management team, they've really been watching the budget, despite the fact that we had a number of things that were surprises for us this past year. We should be able to finish the budget ahead of where we thought we were going to be last year financially, which means we will either accomplish or be close to accomplishing coming out of the deficit, the $1 million deficit that we've been working on. And I will be proposing in this budget that the next step would be to eliminate all of the debt for things that are transitory, that are that depreciate quickly, vehicles. This building has a balloon mortgage that comes up in the fall this year, and so we would need to either refinance our mortgage, which would be refinanced at a much higher rate than it was at originally, or we would have to pay it off. So I anticipate budgeting so that we're able to pay that off. And then we'll also begin working on paying off the vehicles, the sweeper, the Vector, fire trucks. And the goal that I have in mind is if we pay off all those vehicles and the mortgage on this building, we should be able to pay most of the bond for the new emergency services building from the revenue that we save each month from not having to pay on those. So that should really help us to be able to move forward. Another thing that I'm looking at doing is, because we've got the 2 additional dispensaries open now, we have no idea yet, and won't have for a couple more months, how that will affect us financially, because there's a lag of a couple months in getting the revenue. I'm going to propose that we cap the amount of money that we use for operations from that source and use all the money in excess of that for debt reduction and elimination. And after that, use it toward establishing funds for replacement of vehicles so that in the future we don't have to borrow money for quickly depreciating assets. And so that's just kind of, I just wanted you to know my thinking as we move into the budget process, if anybody wants to discuss those things further. You know, a lot of the first dispensary is baked into the budget, but I think we can direct a lot of funds toward debt reduction. Also, being fully staffed on the police department means that we are increasing enforcement. So people should know that some of the non-safety related items that we weren't able to pursue when we were short-staffed, we're beginning to pursue now. But also, the new officers that we have taken a very responsible course in pursuing things that regard public safety, like drunk driving and things like that. So I would suggest to people, and people might want to mention to anybody that might have a problem with this, that enforcement is being stepped up in East Dubuque on DWIs and things like that. And I want to commend the department for that. And we also had one of our new officers with a life-saving action in the last week, that was. And so we'll be bringing more information to you on that. But by administering Narcan, he was able to save an individual. And so we're very pleased and proud of the department. And the chief hopefully will talk a little bit today about the types of offenses that have been picking up. We had our flood meeting in preparation for the potential flood season this year, just before this meeting, making sure that our plan is up to date, and I don't think there were any surprises in that, but we have made a lot of gains from last year. We had a pump last year that was breaking down. We replaced that. We've got plans in place for improving things regularly as we move forward, but I think we're in good shape for that season. And tomorrow, the water tower property north of the new water tower should show up in the paper. So that will be officially up for sale, and we'll be able to take offers on that. That is as the last properties that we did. It'll be sold pretty much like any residence or anything that an individual has. Offers can be taken. The council reserves the ability to make their decision based on any items, for instance, both price and use, and commitment to use and commitment to timely use, I think are the main items that we'll be considering. And so if people want to make offers on that, that would be the suggestion, would be aware of the price, and we've got a lot of interest in it, and have a plan ready that benefits the city of East Dubuque. So that would be my report.
All right, thank you. I don't have anything this evening. Alderperson report. Belkin?
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Bergmeyer?
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Degenhardt?
I just want to report that we went up to Bob's get-together Sunday, and really a nice thing. Thank you for inviting us,
Thank you.
Bob.
Thanks
That's
for
all I
coming.
got, Mayor.
Thank you. Meyer?
I have nothing tonight.
Thank you. Roby?
Nothing.
Thank you. Police Chief Kovacic? Thank you. Public Works Director Van Ostren? Thank you. Fire Chief Heim?
Just want to let the council know that we registered over 50% of our members in the National Firefighter Registry for cancer. This is kind of a big thing that NIOSH and the CDC got tasked with doing. They're trying to research what cancers are affecting firefighters throughout their career. It isn't going to be something that will necessarily affect our people, right now, but the future of the fire service it will affect because you'll go into a registry. If you happen to come down with cancer, they'll be able to look at that registry and go in and check that type of cancer off and correlate it to different things that can happen. We were named a gold helmet department by being able to get the 50% registered, and out of that, we're the second one in the state of Illinois. And there's only 2 in Iowa and 1 in Wisconsin. So there's minimal number of departments that are involved in it. It takes a little bit of time, but it's well worth it. So I think it's a big thing to try to get or 50% or more of your department registered. So I just want to let you know that we became a gold helmet department through them.
Great.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
25-0319, speakers from the floor. None noted this evening. 25-0320, consent agenda.
Motion's approved.
Seconded.
Roll call.
Belkin.
Aye.
Bergmeyer.
Aye.
Dagenhart.
Aye.
Fleur. Meyer. Roby.
Aye.
New business. 25-0321, presentation from Michael Willis with Joe Davies County Emergency Manager in the City of East Dubuque.
Have you got your mic on?
I think, yes, perfect. I don't know why my presentation just went away. Put on Netflix.
Let him talk. I don't know.
While we battled, because that's my home screen, so I don't know why it'll show that, but it won't show the presentation.
It was there.
Yeah, I've got nothing. I am not a technology wizard, so I'll wing it. Yeah, I'll come steal that just so I... Alrighty. Well, my name is Michael Willis. I took over as the Joe Davies County Emergency Manager back in November after Heiko passed away last May, and Kevin Turner was the interim emergency management director. A little bit about myself. Originally, I'm from Virginia. I did my undergrad through Hampton-Sydney College in Farmville, Virginia, and then I got my master's in emergency management from Lander University in Greenwood, South Carolina. Excuse me. I'm starting to get whatever bug is going around, so I apologize. I've been in the fire service now for going on 12 years, and I've been a paramedic with Elizabeth Ambulance since 2021, and I've been riding with Elizabeth since I moved out here in 2018. So a little bit about the reason that I reached out to all of the townships and villages about giving this presentation is I realized that most people don't have a clue what emergency management actually is, especially on the day-to-day functioning of emergency management. So trying to provide all of the information that I can to villages and townships as to why A, my job became full-time, and B, how we can all do more to help ourselves going on in the future. Excuse me. So emergency management day to day, I do a lot of federal paperwork. I'm constantly working on updating our emergency operations plan for the county. Our incident preparedness plan, we submit twice a year, in March and in September. And our hazard mitigation plan update, which is due January 12th of 26, which I'm going to be reaching out again to all of the towns and villages about coming and participating in those meetings for that update. We anticipate, we being IEMA and the emergency managers, that if you are going to apply in the future for any BRIC or FMA funding, and if it is not a part of the hazard mitigation plan, it is most likely not going to be funded at all. We can update the plan, but if it is not a part of the plan, we are assuming that there will not be any consideration for funding for those two programs. Then I conduct compliance with our hazard materials emergency preparedness grant. We are working on finishing up a 3-year commodity flow study, and we are trying to get some more volunteers to go out and help us with that so that our in-kind match meets the federal minimum so that we don't have to pay anything for that. And then if you can think of an acronym from the federal government, I am working on trying to establish or maintain relationships with them so that when they show up in the event of a disaster, they know who to talk to, and they aren't just looking at a face that they've never met before, because I am a firm believer in face-to-face relationships make a lot more of a difference than just talking or emailing on the phone. I'm also working on trying to find multiple new mitigation strategies for Joe Davies County. Obviously, you all are going to have a unique set of problems compared to Stockton, and how we can all work together to kind of reach our goals communally. And then last major thing I do on the day-to-day is I maintain our Code Red system, which is our reverse 911 system, so that if in the event of a disaster, we can push out messages quickly. That would be like those Amber alerts that you get on your phone, as well as we can target text message to people in certain areas. All right, so emergency management in a disaster. So I can act as the incident commander on any given scene. That being said, the fire chiefs tend to know what they're doing a lot better than I'm going to step in, and I'm not going to throw my title around and take over command. I'm going to let them know that I'm there to help them and offer any assistance that I can. However, they know their guys and they know their equipment, and unless it's Elizabeth, I don't know their guys and I don't know their equipment too well. So I can also work in the Emergency Operations Center, which our EOC is down in Hanover, in the Highway Department. And then my major goal is, or my major responsibility is to act as a liaison between IEMA and FEMA, and then our volunteer organizations active in disaster. So that would be like your Red Cross, your Team Rubicon, etc. Excuse me. So in the last year, we've heard a lot of misinformation and a lot of infactual rumors about FEMA. So one of the major things that people have talked about is, yes, FEMA did distribute money during the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic was declared a federal disaster, so therefore it kicks it over to FEMA. They were responsible for the distribution of many funds as it was an active disaster. We heard a lot during the hurricanes last summer about the only money you ever get in the event of a disaster is $750 from FEMA, and that is untrue. The $750 is the first round of applications for assistance, and that $750 is directly targeted at making sure that you can get your prescriptions refilled, having enough food to eat, and making sure that you have a place to stay for a few days. You can then apply for second rounds of assistance, which would be to replace your home and the stuff that you lost. But the most money that you will ever get from FEMA for either one of those programs is $42,500 for a total of $85,000. And to qualify for that $42,500, you have to have a total loss. So people don't often get deemed total losses, and we don't often see that full price tag. I was in an IEMA meeting last week that they say the average payout to a citizen is usually $5,000 to $7,000 from FEMA. So not a whole heck of a lot, but enough to at least get the recovery and get the rebuilding process started. Another major thing that FEMA does pre-disaster, especially when we know that they're coming, such as the storms this past weekend that we had a week to prepare for, and hurricanes, is FEMA will strategically place disaster pods that can easily distribute resources out from. After the hurricanes in North Carolina, we heard a lot about FEMA's not helping, FEMA has no resources, FEMA's not doing anything, because these were a lot of small towns that the only way in and out of them is one roadway that follows the river. And when the rivers rise 20, 30 feet and completely wash away the road or wash away the interstate, you don't have any way to get in, so FEMA doesn't have any way to get in either. So that was a misrepresentation of the information, because FEMA does not own any helicopters, and a lot of these places, the only way you could get to them was via helicopter. So information for you all to know. For FEMA to distribute any money following a disaster, the state has to have over $24 million in reported disaster damages. And they can't be damages to private property, they are damages to public infrastructure. Whether that be the loss of a fire truck, the damage of roadways, or the overtime wages for debris management and debris cleanup. And Joe Davies County also has to have a minimum of $100,005.20 in damage to meet that threshold. That threshold comes from the arbitrary number that the government chooses per person, which right now is $4.72 multiplied by our census from 2020. And that puts us at that $100,005.20. So in the last 5 years, we have had 8 federally declared disasters across the state of Illinois. And that does not include the COVID-19 pandemic because it threw off all of the money statistics. But about $950 million has been given by FEMA in the last 5 years to Illinois. And we are currently anticipating that the federal government is going to switch its focus on recovery measures and emphasize mitigation instead. For every $1 we spend in mitigation efforts, we tend to save $6 in recovery. And IEMA has been telling us to anticipate that the 75% burden that the federal government has been picking up for recovery is going to move to federal government only picking up 25% of the tab, and state and county and local to pick up that 75%. So that means over 5 years, we have to figure out how we're going to fund $950 million in recovery efforts just from the state, most of which is flooding associated, but a lot of it is from tornado damage and other large derecho, like straight wind line storms. So we don't know what FEMA is going to look like in the future. From the time last week I gave this presentation in Stockton, it is now completely different from just a week ago. FEMA is getting cut very harshly at the moment, and a lot of our grants are still frozen, and we have no timeline on when those grants are going to open back up or if they're going to open back up. So we're in a wait and see pattern at the moment, and there's no great answer other than we know it's going to look different. We just don't know what different is going to mean. And then how can you all kind of be prepared? Certainly helping and participating in the hazard mitigation plan update will be incredibly helpful. That hazard mitigation update is kind of your 5, your 10, 15, 20-year wish list of things that you would like to get done. Just because you put it on the plan does not mean it has to be done. That is our lofty goals, our ambitions, and the things that we want to see improved or fixed around the county, around the villages, etc. And consider volunteering with the UCP or my office. I'm working on trying to get several different scenarios put together. And unfortunately, Chief Heim ran away, but he can testify to the fact that when firefighters are asked to be actors, we do a really bad job of it because we just like to mess with our friends. So we try to get people who are more apt to be appropriate patients to kind of help us out with those things. And kind of know what your district and your village or township needs is going to be super helpful. If you come to the hazard mitigation plan update and say, well, I don't know anything about my district, that's not going to be super great. But if you come and say, hey, I know this intersection floods every year, we can have that conversation, and that can be a much more productive time for all of us. And then lastly, just knowing what your insurance policies are. I know probably here in East Dubuque, flood insurance is pretty common, but over, say, Stockton, Elizabeth, it's not nearly as common. And a flood is classified by any external water coming into your house, whether that be rain, whether that be a water main, whether that be sewage. They don't care. It just has to, your insurance company will not cover a water main flooding your basement unless you have flood insurance. There was a small block in Detroit a few weeks ago where a water main broke when it was those negatives temperatures out. The water main broke, it flooded about 3 feet of the street, and then it all froze over. And none of their vehicles and none of their homes were covered by the flood damage. They could get ice coverage because it's Detroit, but they were unable to get anything covered by that flood. So they lost at least 45 different vehicles, and there was several $1 million worth of damages to homes, and none of it's covered by insurance because they didn't have flood insurance being in the heart of downtown Detroit. So just knowing your insurance and knowing what you have can be very helpful. And that's kind of all I have. I'm sorry that my PowerPoint didn't work for you all because you could just see all of my words then. If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, I've left a couple cards, and I'll stick around to answer anybody's questions that you guys may have.
Any questions? Thank you.
Explained it
Awesome.
pretty
Thank
good.
you, guys.
Thank you.
25-0322, discussion and possible action to approve American Legion request for Memorial Day Parade to take place on Monday, May 26th, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. Lineup on Wall Street starts at 9 a.m. Need a motion?
Second.
Roll call?
Bergmeyer.
Aye.
Dagenhart.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Roby.
Aye.
Belkin.
Twenty-five 0323, discussion and possible action to approve American Legion request to sell poppies on Friday, May 23rd, 2025 at Fidelity Bank, Vans Liquor Store, and Family Beer from 2 to 6 p.m. and Saturday, May 24th, 2025 at Vans Liquor Store and Family Beer from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the city of East Dubuque.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Dagenhart.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Roby.
Aye.
Belkin.
Aye.
Bergmeyer.
Aye.
25-0324, discussion and possible action to approve an amendment to ordinance for late fees to add forfeiture provisions for evidence seized in the prosecution of code violations in the city of East Dubuque.
Okay, for any details on this, I'll ask Luke. But basically, we need this ordinance because we're collecting a lot of evidence that is the kind of thing that people don't come back and ask for, relating to like drug paraphernalia, for instance, things like that. They get their ticket, they go through their process, or they don't go through their process. Maybe they don't pay, and we're left with the evidence that we have to care for. And so this is an ordinance that addresses that, that particularly if you fail to pay or fail to pursue the action, then you've got a time limit, 35 days for that, after which the evidence can be destroyed. And so that's the gist of the ordinance. I pretty well covered it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Meyer. Aye. Roby.
Aye.
Belkin.
Aye.
Bergmeyer.
Aye.
Dagenhart.
Aye.
25-0325, discussion and possible action to approve an ordinance of the city of East Dubuque, Joe Davies County, Illinois, to amend prior ordinance number 24-0310 in the city of East Dubuque.
So, Mark, if you want to come up just in case here, but basically you recall the changes we've had for the Oxford Street project, whether we're getting state funds for the sewer, but not the water, and then the water, not the sewer. And we've had to make changes based on those. And so this addresses the I can never remember which direction we went all the
Okay,
time. but-
you were approved with Illinois EPA for sewer loan, and then once the time had lapsed, that one dropped off, and you were approved for the water portion of the project. So that required us to, and we were in the middle of the bidding process when that happened. So then we had to pause the bidding, modify the contract documents, modify the plans in a way that would break the items out between water, sewer, and kind of local funded portions of the project. And this is just really the cost that was associated with modifying the plans and then continuing and rebidding the project. So the work is already done. It's just a matter of putting it in front of you and letting you know the effort it took to do that.
So that's the professional services, which is the next one, and this is the,
Sorry.
Sorry.
This is to borrow the money.
Yeah, this is
Well,
for,
this is the one for
This is
Jill.
This is Jill Pepins.
Got it, sorry.
so this, yeah, this is, my head gets confused when I go through this
okay.
whole. But this is to make sure we get the additional, we can recover the additional costs that we incurred because we had to go through
That's correct.
those items.
I think Jill spoke
So-
with you about that, so
Yeah,
there's
so that-
extra- I think there's extra construction cost, and then there's also the extra engineering costs associated
Yep.
with that.
So that's what this one's about, and then the next one is related to that because it's some of these costs.
Correct.
Putting some of these costs into the loan, and the next one is incurring those costs directly. Sorry, I should have explained that better.
Any questions or discussion?
So it raises the amount that we can borrow based on the cost that's gone up.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Roby,
Aye.
Elkin,
Aye.
Bergmeyer,
Aye.
Dagenhart,
Aye.
Meyer.
25-0326, discussion and possible action to approve amendment number 2 to agreement for professional services for Oxford Street reconstruction 2023 in the city of East Dubuque.
So my bad. This is so. This is the other piece of that, and what Mark described. The first one was raising it because the cost went up, so we raised basically our cap, and then this is for the cost of redoing everything Mark just described. The cost of redoing the project plan and breaking things out.
What kind of timeline do we have on this project?
Right now, we're waiting for Illinois EPA to approve the bidding procedure and the contractor for it. So as soon as that gets going, it may start a little bit later. When we had discussion with the contractor over when we had the summit over there, they talked about having to do some work, I think, in possibly Platteville when school's out of session. So they may start actually a little bit later in the summer, the work, but it'll be quickly following that.
And I will say that we had a discussion. Jill and I had a discussion last week, and the gist of it is, it was a decision of, do we want to take on more cash ourselves up front that we pay out, or have a possible delay while we go through this process to be able to borrow the money that we need. I asked her to go ahead and draft this so that we could go ahead and borrow the money we need to keep our cash to be able to go after other infrastructure work that we need to do. So that's the gist. If you disagree with that, then the previous motion would have been voted
What was
down.
that, Mark?
My description actually was for the project going on out there that.
I was just gonna ask that. Is this Indian Hills or is this for,
This is for Oxford.
Oxford?
And I have
Okay.
not heard that there's gonna be any sort of delay once everything gets approved for the Oxford. But we have not coordinated with, Louise yet on, kind of what that'll look like until we know when everything's approved, so. I haven't heard of any delays.
The only delay is because in the previous motion, the increase in the dollars changes the ask of the state, and that has the potential to delay the state slightly in their changing the numbers for us. So,
so we're looking at a total of a loan for $8,500?
No, that's the next item.
so that I'm sorry. The loan issue was the previous item, the previous vote.
Okay,
We raised it from 500 to 600,000. Basically, raised the cap.
okay.
It would have a nasty name if it was the federal government. And this one has to do with the dollars that it cost to make the changes
Oh,
necessary to go out, because state financing changed, and Origin had to go back and re-itemize things and change around the plan. So, I'm sorry, we approached it backwards.
okay,
It
okay.
was not great coordination between Mark and I, but that was my fault.
Any other questions or discussion?
A motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Belkin,
Aye.
Bergmeyer,
Aye.
Dagenhart,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Roby.
Aye.
Would you like me to stick around for any other agenda items?
We're okay. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Patrick,
See you, Mark.
everybody. Good seeing you.
Thanks, Mark.
Take care.
25-0327, discussion and possible action to approve a liquor license for PS LBJ LLC, doing business as Timmerman's Supper Club in the city of East Dubuque.
I should probably have Pam talk about this because so I don't confuse anybody anymore.
Patty, if you want to step up and just kind of introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Patty Schutz, and I am in the process of purchasing Timmerman's Supper Club with my son Riley and a third business partner. Currently, I own Lewisburg Supper Club in Cuba City. I bought that in 2019, right before COVID. So we made it through that. We put everything we had into it, and we came out really, really strong at the end here. We plan on keeping both businesses. It was our goal for a long time to have a second location, and then the Timmermans opportunity came about, so we kind of jumped on it.
Okay. Great. Yeah.
All right, roll call.
Bergmeyer,
Yes. Aye.
Dagenhart,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Belkin.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome to East Dubuque.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I look forward to meeting everybody and getting familiar with the city and everything. So
Sounds
it'll be a little bit of a challenge for the beginning, but I'm excited for it. Nice to meet all of you. Thank you.
Yep, you
Good
too.
luck.
Thank you.
25-0328, executive session, personnel matters.
Motion approved.
Roll call.
Dagenhart,
Aye.
Meyer, Roby,
Aye.
Belkin,
Aye.
and Bergmeyer.
Aye.
We'll go into executive session.
fact, I had to call her and get her to approve him putting an election sign. You tell that little Benny that, you tell that little Benny. I don't want one of them big ones, but you tell little Benny.
That's a shame she'll be missed.
I know she will. Neighbor is missed. He was a great guy.
All right, 25-0329, there is no action coming out of executive session, so we'll move on to 25-0330. Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Roll call.
Roby.
Aye.
Belkin. Bergmeyer.
Aye.
Dagenhart.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Hey, Gene, so how does that work? So if you go down there, you see the board, and then when you buy your tickets, you got